What are you doing out here? You being adventurous this morning? Hi, Jack. Yes, hi. You go boy. Yes, hi, Jack. Here's your boy. Yes, Jack. Hi. Here's
Fluff ball.
oh, she's a good fluff ball. I'd say she's fit into the family well.
Yeah.
You got Conrad? Okay, don't force her to do that. All right, let Betty have a turn. Hey everybody, I'm Mama Baird. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be cooking up some ground beef. I'm cooking 3 pounds and I'm going to add some bacon to it just to kind of extend its life, put it in my freezer, and have some ready to go ground beef for me. You can can ground beef as well and have it on your shelf, but if you're not a canner or sometimes you just want something in your freezer, you don't want to go through the whole canning process, cook up a bunch of meat, portion it, have it in your freezer, ready to go for quick, easy cooking nights. So let's get in here and let me show you what I made from the ground beef that I had cooked up. Before we get into it, please like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. We're trying to get to 1 million subscribers here, and just watching the videos, giving them a like, leaving a comment really helps my channel out. So thank you so much. All right, let's get into it and let's cook up some ground beef. The first thing I do is I have my par-cooked bacon bits in there. This is bacon that I have grounded up and then pre-cooked like halfway and then froze. So I'm going to use that as a filler, stretch it out, and then I'm also going to add some peppers and onions to it as well, just to kind of beef up the beef and make it last a little longer. This is what I do. You could also add sausage to this. I think that would be really good, beef and sausage mixed up together, but I happen to have a lot of bacon, so that's what I'm going to be doing. And I gotta tell you, it really flavored up that meat. So that was about half a pound of bacon that I did that was grounded up to go a little further. And now I'm going to be adding diced peppers and onions to it. It's something that I always add to all my ground beef. I just feel like it adds such a good flavor. It helps get extra veggies in there. It gives it a pop of color. And now I'm going to season it with some salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Just generic seasonings to kind of give it some flavor. But I don't know what I'm going to be using this for later on. But I want my meat to have a little bit of flavor. So I'm going to add that to it. And now I'm going to be making instant mashed potatoes. These are the baby reds. So I'm just going to do this in the microwave version. I've never done this before. I usually boil the water on the stove, but today I put it in the microwave till it was nice and hot, and I'm pouring it into the potatoes. I lost my fork in there, darn it. I'm just going to mix this up till it's nice and combined, and then I'm going to put a lid on it and we'll see how it turns out. Now at this point, I had already taken off 2 bags of meat, of just this plain meat. I didn't show that part, I don't know why, but I took 2 parts out, and those are the bags that I have in my freezer. And now I'm going to convert the leftover meat to shepherd's pie, and this is going to make 2 shepherd's pie. So I'll have 1 for tonight and then 1 for the freezer. So to this mixture, I drained it, and then I'm going to be adding in half a bag of mixed veggies, just what I have in my freezer, to get that out. And then I'm adding water and this mushroom gravy pack. I think that's going to make a nice gravy for the shepherd's pie. As I was mixing this, I was a little concerned that there might not be enough juice in there. So I was debating about whether needing to add another packet or some more water. But after letting it sit a little while longer, it created a little bit of juice there. So I think that it was going to be okay. And now we're checking our mashed potatoes, and they got cooked. They're fluffy, they look good, so I would say that was a win. I'm going to add some parsley to that just to kind of give it a little bit of color, and then a little bit of garlic powder because I like garlic flavored mashed potatoes. And that's what's going to end up going on top of our ground beef mixture. I did also add some salt because potatoes love salt. So once we get those all mixed up, we got some nice pretty mashed potatoes to go on top. I'm going to put this in an 8x8 pan. It seems like if I do a 9x16, then that would take up all of that mixture, and that's just a lot of leftovers for us. So I'm just going to shoot it down to an 8x8, and we'll see how this goes. This is one of those dishes, though, that the whole family loves. If you have not given shepherd's pie a try yet, I wish you would, because it is very delicious, and you could really use any kind of mashed potatoes on there, but I feel like it works just great with instant. You want to create a little bit of like peaks and texture to this because those get nice and crispy once they go in the oven. So we're going to bake that at 350 for probably about 30 minutes, and then we'll give it a check. It's nice and bubbly, so I'm going to add some cheese to this because everything's better with cheese. Leave it in there for maybe 10 more minutes. And now it is done. That it was definitely enough gravy. You could see it bubbling out of the sides there. So I think I did okay on that gravy. I'm glad I didn't add more. And now that's what the kids are having. There's some shepherd's pie and some fresh watermelon. The first meal I'm going to be making with my leftover ground beef is some spaghetti, just classic spaghetti. I have some of these small portions that I get from the kids' lunches that are marinara sauce that are kind of messy to eat on the go, so I save them for meals. And then I have this packet, I thought it was marinara sauce, but turns out it's enchilada sauce. And then I'm going to be adding a can of plain tomato sauce. And this is our frozen ground beef mixture. I tried beating it up to break it up and it broke it, but that's what we're going to be using. A can of mushrooms and this Johnny's garlic bread seasoning is what I'm going to be putting on some garlic bread. So I'm going to start just by making sure you scrape out all those containers. This is just marinara sauce that they can up. And then I thought this was marinara, but pretty much as soon as it hit the skillet, I could smell it, and it was a little bit of a spicy enchilada sauce. But honestly, guys, that added a nice flavor to this spaghetti sauce. I would suggest doing that from now on. Gotta love those mistakes and give your spaghetti sauce a little flair. And then I added a plain can of tomato sauce because that wasn't quite enough, and I want to cook a full pound of spaghetti. So if you don't have the little marinara sauces, then you can just add spaghetti sauce and then season it up as you would like. And then to this sauce, while it's still heating up, I'm going to add the frozen ground beef. You can like microwave this to heat it up and stuff, but I find that cooking it from frozen works just fine. All you got to do is put a lid on it and let it steam a little bit in that sauce, and then it'll break up. That's it, break it up. And now I have these everything but the bagel seasoned loaves, and I'm going to make some garlic butter with this garlic seasoning I got and put it on top. Oh my gosh, guys, this was so good. It was definitely like store-bought, but not as, I don't know, crunchy. And I got to, the garlic bread was delicious. Husband ended up having mine, a leftover one. So I'm gonna add the mushrooms to it, and then I'm just gonna try and break up that meat as it's cooking. It'll slowly break up, it's no big deal. Just mix it around. I'm gonna give it a taste. It does need a little bit of seasoning in there, so I'm gonna add that garlic spread seasoning to it. Why not? Don't just have to use that for garlic bread. Use it for any kind of pasta marinara dish. So I'm going to let that cook a little more. Then I'm just going to add a whole pound of spaghetti. I don't know about you guys, but I'm mix it all together and serve it versus putting just noodles and then putting the sauce on top. I like it mixed up. I find it a lot easier. So we're going to go ahead and dish that up, and this is our finished dinner with that toasted garlic bread. Oh, it was so yummy. Nothing like classic spaghetti in under 15 minutes as well. For this next dish, it's another take on spaghetti, but this is actually called taco spaghetti, and it's not quite as saucy as regular spaghetti, and I really like the flavor. This is a kid favorite, so if you got kiddos, I highly suggest you give this one a try. I'm just going to put the meat straight in there and try and break it up a bit. Just kind of move it around. If you have trouble breaking it up, then you can just put a lid on it and steam it for a little bit. That's what I do a lot too. And then I'll flip it over, try break up the other side. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and add my taco seasoning to this, as well as my can of diced tomatoes. Those tomatoes have Italian seasoning and basil in there, so I think it'll go really well in here. And then adding the tomatoes helped create something to steam it and break up the meat a little bit. So we're just going to keep breaking that up until it's all cooked together. The tomatoes will cook down, and then that meat will kind of break up a bit. So that's the texture we're looking for. And that's all we have to add to it. It's super simple. If you didn't have your cooked ground beef, then you would cook ground beef and then add the tomatoes and everything to it. So I'm going to mix the spaghetti in there, and I was like, man, this does look kind of dry, like it needs some sauce or anything. But I just left it as is. The tomatoes ended up creating a nice juice. The kids really enjoyed this too. They ate quite a bit of it, came back for seconds. So they also did not mind that it wasn't as saucy as regular spaghetti. I think that's kind of the point, is that it's a little different. So I have some freeze-dried cilantro here. Fresh cilantro obviously is the way to go. If you don't like cilantro, then you can skip this, or maybe put like some Italian seasoning. I think that would go good with here as well. So I'm putting cilantro on there, and then I'm going to put some Colby Jack cheese. That kind of helps make a nice top for it. It makes it gooey, like if you were to put Parmesan cheese on regular spaghetti. And then it just gets melted and it's ready to go. I got a little impatient, as you can see, and the cheese didn't melt all the way, but that's okay. It melted afterwards for enough for the second bowl. And that's what they had. Like I said, it looks kind of weird because it's not as saucy. I'm not really much of a buttered noodled person, but this is kind of what it reminded me of, but with just a little bit of flavor to it. So that is what the kids had for lunch that day. And just like that, we have some cooked ground beef in our freezer to just grab and throw into a meal real quick. You can thaw it if you want to. I usually cook it from frozen, as you see, and it usually works out just fine for me. But thaw it if you want to have a little head start. Having frozen ground beef in your freezer gives you a good start to a quick meal. If you're like, oh, I don't have anything to eat. Oh, I got ground beef. Let's just make spaghetti. Ooh, I got ground beef, let's throw together a casserole. So that's really helps you out. What are some tips and tricks that you have on pre-cooking your ground beef? Please let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you next time on Mama Baird's.